Yes, ma'am. Very good morning, ma'am.
All right. Right. So, good morning. Welcome to the session. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, ma'am. Thank you so much for asking. What about you, ma'am?
I'm also doing good. Just little tired because of my fever, but beyond that, I'm doing good. Right. Anything special about your morning?
Nothing, ma'am. I woke up late in the morning, so I'm also feeling little.
Yeah, I was saying that you were talking about waking up late today. I was gonna ask you, do you not have like a work day today?
Ma'am, actually, I didn't have any such kind of work because I'm hostel warden. So here I have to live 24 hours. So I'm rapturous. I can wake up anytime.
Okay, you have a shift of 34 hours. That's what you said.
No, no, ma'am. Actually, I work here 24 hours. So
24
that is
hours.
why
Okay, so
any
you're there in the hostel all the time.
Yes, ma'am. So I have to live here 34 hours. So anytime I can sleep and I can wake up. There's no boundaries.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Hmm. So Monday to Sunday you have to work like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you not getting any breaks and holidays? That is so sad. I think in fact on the day of the holiday you have more work because all the hostlers are inside.
Yes, ma'am. But actually, I have to only take care of the things. I don't have to
Mhm.
do anything by my hand. Some things I do. I go to grocery shop and I take things from there. Other things I don't feel that I need to do anything. Only I take care of all the things. Whatever is going on. There is no food wastage should be there in the kitchen, and yeah, the students should get food properly on time. Only this thing I have to take care.
Okay, fair enough. All right. All right, okay. Before I proceed ahead, do you have any sort of doubts, questions, queries, anything you want to ask or clarify?
Ma'am, I will ask after some time. Actually, this is my problem. Actually, this is the main problem. I want to ask so many questions, not only tutors. Whenever I talk to other co-learners, that time I want to ask
Hmm.
more and more questions, but I do not get what to ask.
Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair enough. So framing questions can be an issue, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, it may be lack of ideas.
Okay.
Ideas
Fair enough.
don't come to my mind that what
All
to
right.
ask.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. So I'll stop in the last 5 minutes to discuss all of that and the feedback and how you can improve on it, right?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. So talking about our topic of the day, which is the rhythm of the routine, right? What do you do daily and how does your routine look like? Things like that. So first of all, do you have a fixed routine or do you think your routine is a little more spontaneous, that it changes every day a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. Every day, every moment. Anytime I
Hmm.
have to go anywhere, so even my waking up time is not fixed, and I go to bed. Yeah, that time is fixed. I think I go to bed after 12 o'clock in the night. But in a day, I can wake up 7 or 8 around, and then I do my some normal work, and then I have to go to the mess. There I take care of the food and the things. Yeah, these kind of things I do, ma'am. And in between, if owner wants me to bring anything from outside, so I go for that, and anytime I can go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So your work is, I think, a lot more dynamic, right? Because every time it changes. Like it, I mean, every day, even if the work is same, the timing can be different, right? Every day at
Hmm.
different hours,
Right.
you're doing different things. Fair enough. Right.
Right,
Does
ma'am.
it get boring at any point?
Sometimes, ma'am. Sometimes when I want to go outside and I'm not allowed to go. Sometimes. Then I feel a little bit boring. Otherwise, I don't. Because here I have ample amount of time. I can talk with anyone. I can practice English. That is the main thing why I'm here. Hmm.
Hmm.
So I utilize my
Fair
time.
enough.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I think sometimes every job gets boring. No matter how much you love your job, at some point it will get boring for a little period of time, but it will.
Definitely.
But okay. All right, okay, right. Are there any specific tasks that get boring for the day? Like you said that sometimes it can be boring. So are there any specific tasks that are boring? Or do you think like the entire day sometimes is just like, okay, it's too lethargic or it's too boring?
Actually, ma'am, there is no such task that feels boring. Sometimes I feel not doing anything, not doing. We feel like let's only practice English, and sometimes we feel practice English is also a boring task. Sometimes because we do all the time. I'm free, and yeah, almost 80% time I'm free. So I do only these kind of activities, watching videos and talking with people. So sometimes I feel it monotonous, and I skip for 1 or 2 days sometimes, and I take rest only. And sometimes I go outside for bring some items. So I do these things.
Hmm.
There is no such task that I feel that is boring because English is only there 80% of the time.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you love English that much?
Yes, ma'am. I love. But you know when we do any kind of activity which is our favorite, but we
Hmm.
repeat it again and again. So we don't feel like doing that. We can't specialize that thing. It feels
Hmm.
monotonous sometimes. Mm.
It does feel monotonous sometimes. Fair enough. For languages, yeah, I think languages can become very monotonous because, see, the entire point of language is to communicate, nothing more than that, right? So, at some point,
Mhm.
the conversations will become repetitive, the conversations will become boring. That makes the entire process of learning also boring sometimes if you are trying to practice in a like particular language, right? What I do suggest
Right, right.
people for that is that try to, upgrade your activities as to how you practice your language, right? So for example, spoken English is one of the best way to do it is to speak in it, right? That you're doing right now and you're doing it quite well, right? But also make listening English a part of your day. Some days try to listen to content that you like, right? Let's say for example, a certain movie or a certain series. On other days try to watch something in English, let's say that's completely out of your interest. Let's say you watch a documentary or you watch a couple of YouTube videos about the cosmos or the universe, something that you are not really fond of, but you're still watching, right? See if your interest
Mhm.
develops in it, right? But watch it in English. That's the catch, right? Because even if it's something that's new to you, you're still learning something. Then on other days, I usually give a couple of links to people to practice from, right? Because that particular link has all videos in the British accent, which can be a little tough to understand. So, as you said, that since you are able to talk in English all the time, you have some command on it, but it gets boring sometimes. So, challenge yourself a little bit. Try to hear to different accents. See if you're able to practice in those accents or not. Like, let's say, assuming that if someone British is talking to you, can you understand it at once or not? Right? So challenge yourself a little bit, then it gets less monotonous. Otherwise, if you're having conversation with the same group of people, you know, every 5 days, then it can become monotonous, it can become boring. That is why you might run out of questions also, you know, because if you're
Right,
talking to,
ma'am.
let's say, me in every session, you won't get much to ask from me, right? Because nothing is
Right,
new,
ma'am.
right? So that might be the case. But anyhow, you have
Yes,
any
ma'am.
questions till now?
Yes, ma'am. I will ask you questions. Ma'am, actually, I do not talk with people every day. Means
Hmm,
not 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours continuously.
hmm.
Actually, I prefer watching videos. I watch a lot of videos,
Okay.
but videos which are in English, which in Indian accent. I watch those kind of videos, especially conversational videos and
Hmm.
other podcasts. Those kind of things I watch. But
Hmm.
I do not talk with people more than 1 or 2 hours every day
That
because
is more
this
than
task
enough.
I feel.
I think I don't talk more than that in English. So, but fair. Okay, you were saying something. Go ahead.
Hmm. Yes, ma'am. So that is the main question. How to become a, that type of person who asks questions repeatedly with any kind of
Hmm.
questions. We need to develop that idea so that in given topic we can ask any kind of questions. We do not get what to ask.
Hmm. Okay, so there are two ways about it. One, I would suggest, see, conversational videos in Indian accent, right? So, for example, videos of English yaari, let's say two people discussing and putting their videos on
Hmm.
YouTube. A lot of people do that, right? So, if you go through it, it's a good practice. I'm not going to discourage it, do it. But I would also suggest that try to watch more web series or more series from the American continent. Try to upgrade, right? Because you are speaking quite
Hmm.
well. I can say that, right? It's not like you have a lot of mistakes when you speak, right? So if you're speaking well, try to upgrade yourself and give yourself a bigger challenge. That allows you to ask more questions. A lot of the times we don't ask questions because whatever is happening around us, we understand it completely, right? Questions are for the curious. If you have nothing in your environment that's new, you're not going to be able to form questions. But let's say today I suggest you that, whether after the class, start watching a series called Big Bang Theory, right? It's a comedy show based on scientists, based out of America. Let's say you start watching it today, right? You watch 5, 6, 7 episodes, right? One, since it's new content, there are going to be things that you don't understand. That will allow you to ask questions. Second, in the next session, you're going to be like, Tanushka, I saw it, but I kind of got bored. Then I'll ask you why. Then you'll ask me questions again as to why did I suggest you that series, right? When I
Hmm.
knew that that's not your interest. So, watching new content, watching something completely out of scope of whatever you were watching till now allows you to ask questions. That's one. Second, trying to be curious about whatever the topic is. Let's say you are having a conversation with me. Every time you have a conversation with somebody, there's going to be some topic of the conversation. It cannot be completely random, right? Either you're asking about my
Hmm.
day, or we are talking about, let's say, college, or we are talking about our education, something. Today, the topic is routine, right? So, all the questions I asked you, one, you can always ask those questions back, right? So, that's an entire set of
Exactly.
questions whenever you're having a conversation with somebody. Always asking, what about you? Right? That allows us to be the best question in the conversation. Right? Secondly, asking uh, questions related to the topic. That will happen once you catch the topic of the conversation. Here it's very clear, right? Because I have already told you we're talking about routine, right? But in outside
Hmm.
like conversations, when you're talking with somebody new, the topic might not be this specific. People talk about multiple things at a time. So figuring out the topic that you want in your conversation also allows you to form questions, right? So now I'll ask you, do you have any questions from me from today's topic, let's say? Right? Today the question,
Yes, ma'am.
the topic was routine, right? So what are your few
Yes,
questions
ma'am.
from me?
Yes, ma'am. So, first question is that please tell me about your routine, your daily routine.
My daily routine, oh, it's very
Normal.
messed. But okay, so my routine is also kind of dependent on my college, right? Usually I do wake up around 5 or 6, right? Because that's when I start my day. Sometimes 4:30 in the morning also. But after that, it depends on whatever my college routine is. If my classes start at, let's say, 9 a.m., then I have to leave my home at 7. My college is quite far. If my classes start at 11, then I have to leave at 9, right? So accordingly, I leave and I always come back home around 5 or 6:30, somewhere in that range. I come home. After coming home, I have all sorts of assignments and projects, and currently I'm in my last semester. So I'm also writing a dissertation, a thesis. So for that, I have to do a lot of research every day. So my 2 hours after college go into that once I come home. After that, I have a habit of going for a walk every day. So I go downstairs, have my walk, have my earphones on for at least 1 hour. Then I come back. I have sessions to take. So I take the sessions on English Yaari. After that, I am again back on my assignments and I sleep somewhere around 12, 12:30 at night. And then again wake up at 5 and same routine. So yeah, the part that differs is when I go to my college and what do I have to do in the college. So that's that.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Actually,
think
I
that's
want
it.
to become expressive like you. I want to become expressive like you. I want to express my thoughts as much as
Uh-huh.
I can. Because in when you asked me that question, tell me about your routine. So I wasn't able to tell you like this. So I want to become like you.
Hmm. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so for that, one thing is also, are you talkative? The thing with me is I am expressive because I'm very talkative also. So I am
May I
able to,
am,
say,
ma'am, I am, but in my mother
okay,
tongue. In Hindi, I am very talkative. People
all right.
usually stop me. Please don't say. It's enough.
Okay, all right. So, see, if you're expressive in one of the languages, then it can be easier to adapt it in the other language also. That's what I tell people. Some people are just introverted in general, right? So, for them, it's hard to open up. With you, the issue is only hesitation, right? Because when you're talking in
Right,
English, you hesitate that I don't want to make mistakes in front of another person. With us, you are like, okay, I can still make mistakes in front of them because they're all tutors. They will not say anything. They'll just correct me and they'll move on, right? But when you're talking to people in your organization, in your workplace, right? We have to also maintain a decorum. We don't want to give space to other people to correct us, right? We want to come as people who, okay, who are very careful and they know everything that they're talking about, right? So for that one, losing fear has to be the biggest thing, right? Because I'll tell you
right,
what, when you speak, I always tell people, if you're speaking to a lot of people, the other person is as concerned about their own speech as you are about yours, right? They are very scared about what they are talking about, so they will not concentrate on your mistakes. Once you are done, they will just say, oh, he spoke so well, and they'll move on because they are worried about themselves also, right? So
right.
always keep that in mind because that reduces your anxiety when you talk in English particularly, right? In the mother tongue, we are all like, okay, I know my mother tongue so well, so I will not be scared at all. But in a foreign language
Right.
like English, where there is a lot of scope to make mistakes, everyone is worried when they're speaking, right? So always keep that in mind
Right.
that these people are as scared as I am, right? That
Right.
reduces fear.
Thank
It's a
you.
very funny trick and it always makes you smile when you're talking to other people, right? And you will notice this
Right.
because since you are with us on English Yaari, a lot of people tell you corrections, right? They'll tell you, okay, prepositions need to be corrected, past tense needs to be corrected. So when you work on those things, you realize that other people are doing the same mistakes, right?
Yes, ma'am. Right, right.
Yeah, good.
And then when I talk with anyone, talk to anyone, especially experts, then I feel that I don't have to make mistake. Even I do not do it deliberately, but our subconscious mind allows us to not make any kind of mistakes in front of experts. So that
Exactly.
is why we are unable to express.
Exactly. That happens because when you're talking to people in the room, let's say if you're talking to your boss or if you're talking to somebody like an HOD or something, right? You're going to be like, okay, I can't make mistakes in front of this person. What is the best way to not make mistakes? According to our mind, the best way to
Right,
not make mistakes is speak less,
right,
right?
right,
The lesser you speak, the lesser will be the mistakes, very basic math, right? But always remember the lesser you speak in a situation, other people can dominate that situation. And you do not want that in an office, right? Let's say right now you're working in a hostel. At some point, you want to upgrade yourself, you want to work in corporate or you want to work in an office, right? There you will have more interactions with people who are at the same level as you and people who are above you in the office hierarchy, let's say a manager or a superior or anybody. In those cases, if
right,
you do not talk enough, other people will overpower you. You don't want that, right? Because then you will get way too much work. Everyone will try to be assertive on you, right? So always hold your stance, and the best way to do it is speak. So if you ever feel that, okay, I don't want to make mistakes, rather think it's better to make mistakes and not get more work than I already have, right? Do not let other people dominate the situation. In Hindi, we all understand this, right? But when it comes to English, we become a little scared that, okay, I hope they don't judge me. But nobody will judge you. If your point factually is correct, right? Few grammar mistakes, nobody will say anything to you, right?
right, ma'am.
So keep that in mind. Always. Do not let other people dominate the situation every time, especially in interviews, group discussions, talking to superiors, right? Talking in a public place where there are a lot of people. And you will see this. Some people have a habit of dominating, right? They want you to speak less, right?
Right, ma'am.
In
And
debates
ma'am,
and
one more
everything.
problem.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
And actually, one more problem I face when I have to make anyone understand. So I will come to the point very late. I will roam here and there. I will speak too much. That is the main problem. If I have to convey a message, so it should be little precise. I speak too much. The people, after listening all the things, if you are not listening me carefully, all the things, so you may even lose the point what I'm trying to say. This is the problem, man.
Okay. Hmm. I think that might be happening with you in Hindi because right now when you're talking to me, you're speaking few sentences, right? So I don't think so you're elaborating too much at any point. Little bit of elaboration is required. Let's say you described your problem to me right now, right? So if you wouldn't have given me these 4, 5 examples, I wouldn't have understood your problem, right? So this much elaboration is also needed. So don't think that you're talking too much. That is okay. As to the roaming around thing, you have to demarcate the situations when you're talking. Let's say you're having a conversation with me currently, right? Speaking 10 sentences to describe your problem is completely all right, right? Because I'm here to solve your problem. For that, I need to hear you properly. But when you're talking to, let's say, a manager, right? Or the principal of the college or something, right? Who doesn't have much time, they are also running. They're like, okay, speak fast. So I have to go, right? In those situations you have to minimize your sentences. So for that, do not give examples. With you the case might be that you're roaming here and there because you're giving too many examples, right? So let's say the problem is about, the canteen workers aren't working properly, right? And the food is not being served nicely to the students, always the food is cold, right? So if you have to convey this message to a superior, you will not talk about, okay, yesterday the food was cold, or day before yesterday 4, 5 students came to me, they complained, then I checked it. No, nothing. Just simply you will say the canteen workers are not working properly and the food being served is cold. You're done. 2 sentences, right? So
Right, man.
if you cut out your examples, you can directly come to the point, right? Examples are for situations when you're having a conversation with somebody. With me, you're having a conversation, right? So you can quote as many examples as you want. It's all right. Some people take longer to describe their points. It's okay. When you're reporting something to a senior, or when you're reporting something to the students, or when you're giving commands to the students, let's say the students have, they don't switch off the lights on time in the hostel, right? The time is 10 o'clock in the night, and they are like, shouting and
Ma'am,
putting till 12 o'clock. So
ma'am,
you have to command.
actually, ma'am, as students were doing some work without asking. That is why I went there to tell them, don't do it. Politely,
Okay,
I have done that.
okay, fair enough. All right. Right. So you see, you can finish your things in one sentence also. Perfect example. Right? So
Yes,
it's about the reminding yourself who you're talking to, right? If you're talking to students, when you're giving commands, right? When you're giving them instructions, not command but instructions, right? Instructions, no need for examples, getting to the point directly, right? Conversation with somebody like me or anybody else, right? Then elaborate, give examples, use anecdotes. Best way to be expressive is to give examples, because that elongates and elaborates your answers, right?
right, ma'am,
Any
right.
other doubts from your end, by the way? Because we are at the end of the
Yes,
session, I'm
ma'am.
supposed to ask.
Actually, ma'am, this is the main problem, and I think this is the major problem what I face. And there are some grammatical problems and so many problems you can even understand
See,
all the
the grammar
situations.
things get better. Don't worry about it. You have just started. I think this might be a sixth or seventh session, right? So, is
Actually,
it
this is
sixth
my
or
second
seventh?
session, and no, no,
Oh,
ma'am,
this
it
is
is
your second
my
session.
yes, ma'am. But I have been practicing English for more than 1 year with co-learners, not with experts. So whenever I face any expert tutor, so that time I don't feel like too much confidence, and I'm unable to speak what I'm trying to
But for
what I
somebody who
usually
is
speak.
in the second session, you are speaking very well. Do not like tell yourself that, oh, it's an expert or something. You are speaking very well. I thought this is like your seventh or tenth session, so you're worried. This is your second session. You're speaking so well. Why are you worried? You should not be worried at all. By the time it's your tenth session, you will like gain a lot more practice and you will be doing even better than this, right? You're speaking very well. You have very good command and sentences. I have worked with students who in the second sentence, like second session, could not make sentences also. You're making really precise sentences. So don't worry about it, right? The more you will, because every session will have a different topic. The more you'll talk about topics, that will also help you elaborate on different types of things, right? So that should also help. I'll give you a link
Right,
in
ma'am.
case, I mean, you don't need to practice grammars separately. But if you want to practice, let's say, some tense, right, or something, you can visit this link, right? It's a free of cost British Council link. On this link, you will find a lot of videos and audios to practice. I would encourage that you do that, right? Every audio is going to be around 3 to 4 minutes. You have to listen to the audio and answer some questions below to check if you understood the audio or not. So it can be an interesting practice. One activity or one audio or one video will hardly take about 5 to 6 minutes. So every day, if you just do one activity, more than enough, right? But the accent is British. So don't give up. It will be a little tough to understand in the beginning, right? But slowly you will get a hang of it. So keep practicing. And it has levels A1, A2, B1, B2, like that. A1 is the most basic one. I think A1, A2, you will not face issues. B1 will be a little tough, right? So try practicing accordingly. One activity every day, more than enough for now, right? Any other
Definitely,
doubts
ma'am.
from your end?
Ma'am, actually, doubts. So there are so many doubts, and I'm unable. I told you already that I'm unable to find my doubts and all the queries. Time I find them. So actually, ma'am, I want to say one thing that I I won two sessions in English Yari in live on every Sunday. I go there and I comment there. So I have won two times.
Oh,
So this is
okay.
my second. Yes, man. This is my this session I've won there.
Oh,
So I'm planning to subscribe English Yari. Yes, ma'am.
all right, fair enough. If you do subscribe, I'd love to have more sessions, right? We'll talk a lot more. I think
Definitely,
that'll give
ma'am.
you even more practice. But you're doing quite well. I would really appreciate your effort because if you are a self learner, I mean, you have learned English by yourself till now. Only now you have started practicing with others. So I think you are doing really well for somebody who has self practiced so much, right? So don't discourage yourself at any point. I would say you are doing quite well. Little more practice and you will be able to overcome all your doubts, right? So keep
Right.
practicing. I'll close the session here because the next one is about to start, right? I'll love to see
Okay,
you in some other session. Okay. I hope I was able
okay,
to
ma'am.
clarify all
Actually,
your doubts.
yes, ma'am. Very clearly. And actually, ma'am, without introduction, we are going to wrap up this conversation. Okay, no worries,
Um,
ma'am. In next section, without introduction. Actually,
yeah.
I thought that you will. I thought initially when I connected with you, so I thought you will ask me questions. So, and now we are going to wrap up. You didn't ask me, or even I didn't ask you about the question. Even I am familiar with you, ma'am, because I have watched some of videos on YouTube.
Oh,
So
okay.
I know you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. See, I don't ask introductions because a lot of people, have complained that every session, if we, talk about only our introduction for 5 to 10 minutes, right, then it becomes boring because in every session, 5-10 minutes of introductions can be boring, right? So that's why I don't
Right.
ask introductions anymore because only 25 minutes and a lot of things to discuss, right? Like
Right.
today also, I don't know where my 30 minutes went. It was a lovely conversation, so I don't even know when it ended. So this is why I
Thank you so
don't
much,
ask
ma'am.
introductions.
Thank you so
But
much, ma'am. And thank you so much for 5 minutes extra you have
that's
given me.
okay.
Thank you
That's
so
all
much,
right.
ma'am, for
Okay.
that.
All right. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Bye bye, ma'am.